Alrighty, laka things, eh? Back like we never left. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4 of Sonic Conversations. Yeah, man, joining me. Well, I'm joining her actually. Joining the great Gabi Motuba. To really decipher her album, sophomore album, The Sabbath. And yeah, man, it's just been a journey and a half. I mean, episode 3 was more or less of the Requiem, that day Motuba's Requiem. Correct me if I'm wrong. Forgot that. Requiem. Oh, because every week is me butchering a word. I thought I got it right at some point, but today we are going to be touching base on the Sabbath, Deliverance 1. Man, and this would do me Mohorosi, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
This one is
I'm teasing.
For sure. This one is the Sabbath Movement 1 featuring Tabang Tabang. Yeah.
I mean, it's really been a journey, guys. I'm always butchering my notes. Nah, man, I
need to get a better notebook or a pen.
Yeah. No, nigga. I need to get a fact checker at this point in time to be like, it's actually Sabbath Movement. It's not just the Sabbath. Yes, please fix that. Nah, but
no, don't worry. No. Yeah.
But if anything, man, track 4, it's something different, and then I was looking through the collaboration list again. It's really similar guys you've worked with across the whole body of work. But this one alone, I mean, there's Deliverance 2, it goes on, and really when I reflect on just how well it was executed, it's just something else. And again, it's even me touching on what we spoke on pre-recording, like off the record. It was more or less of the standard and the quality, that's really valued, by the jazz artists, and really how you were able to apply it in this song as well. Each and every song is a, how can I put it, man? It's a mind-blowing experience if you love jazz. I mean, there's vocal jazz, there's traditional jazz, so it depends on what type of jazz you love, right? Because it varies per subgenre, I guess. That's how I see it, But this one here in particular, it just reminds me of the story you're telling me of how you guys were recording, one takes, and I'm just like, nah, how the heck is that possible? I'm used to going into studio with an artist and they're like, okay, take 2, and you will sit for 2 hours recording the same thing, for 2 hours straight recording the same thing.
Not for jazz musicians. We can't do that. We cannot do that.
It's expensive also. I know. It ain't cheap. It ain't cheap. It really ain't cheap.
Yeah.
But before we even dwell deep into the meaning behind it, now just take us on the journey leading to it and the titling behind it. Why the Sabbath Movement? I mean, each and every other title seems to have its own, how can I even put it, man, personal resonation in terms of like moments or memories. But this one has like it's a different titling, the Sabbath Movement 1, then there's another movement, Deliverance 2. Why the title?
Well, Before I think the Sabbath became a whole body of work, I was really, really inspired by this Argentinian singer. Her name is Mercedes Sosa, and she's got this amazing project called the Misa Criolla, and it's quite a famous I think like it's a famous aria. I think you call that in classical music, when like the voice is accompanied by orchestra and by choral in particular. So I was gifted this project by the late Brabegi Peterson, who passed away a few years ago. And he was like, Gabi, listen to this. And let me tell you, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the sound. So I think I was really, really inspired by that. I knew that I wanted to create, I wanted to write a piece of music that was sort of like a movement, that was sort of like, those things that Mozart, like it's like a sonata or something like that. I wanted to write something like that. So when I started composing the Sabbath, I had this in mind also, because like I really just, I wanted to do something like that. So the way that I wrote the music, like I said, the Sabbath Movement 1, 2, and 3 are all connected. So it becomes like an aria. It becomes like a whole composition in and of itself. Within the project, this is like a composition, like a body of work, inspired by the Misa Criolla by Mercedes Sosa. So yeah, and this is why kind of it stands out, because and this was the first thing I wrote. Everything else came from this movement. So after I had written it beginning to end, there were like certain themes I wanted to explore. Then they became like the individual songs, they became Amen. Yeah, it became the Adhan. It became this is the first truth, as bitter as it may be. Yeah. So that's the story behind that. Yeah.
I mean, look, and I read further, like from evildoers, deliverance from evildoers. What happened? Why that subtitle?
Well, it was like for movement 1, 2, and 3. The way I heard it sort of sounded like a prayer. And at the time, I was really delving into like the prayers of David in the Bible, the character David, also Paul. And the last one was the story of Cain and Abel. So I wanted to have these, like I'm saying, like in this project, I'm kind of really thinking through, this idea of, the representation of each character linked to, the world now, you know what I mean? And also my journey of understanding religion and spirituality. So, I just referencing prayers and like, I was really fascinated in the kind of prayers that were said, because I think this is like really strong stuff, like you're saying, like deliverance from evildoers. This is a very like combative kind of very strong and present prayer, so I wanted to have these themes that I thought were really strong in the Bible as well, as part of the themes that I explored in the music.
I love that. I mean, damn, man. I'm just I'm just taking it in and really, reflecting just from episode 1, when you counted from episode 1, right?
Yeah.
Spirituality has been top of the list, right?
Yeah.
From the Psalms we read, correct me if I'm wrong, Psalms 91.
37.
Oh, guys, I mean, but
moving on. Yeah.
My references, nah. But like looking back at like just those psalms, that psalm particularly, and tapping into the other time, I think we tapped into Psalm 21 the next day, because I had read Psalm 23 as well,
Yes.
but you read something closer to that.
Yes.
And when you reflect into all those things, it's more like outside of it being a prayer, it's a letter to God. That's how I see it, right? And it's a letter of practically, like of you practically. I mean, prayer is practically a letter, right? But prayer is a conversation. It's a live conversation between us and God. But in this instance, it's like a letter, right? And in this letter, it just encapsulates that journey of like, okay, cool, I've been through so much. I'll reference like a Cain and Abel story, you know what I mean, and how it went down. And you look at all those things, and then really like I analyze the Bible in this manner, right? Because the Bible is the book of life, right? Or it's supposed to serve as a guide towards life, right? In the living form, right? Like in a sense, it's giving us structure more than anything else on our day-to-day.
Yes.
And I like when you read the Bible, the events might not resonate with what's happening in today's era because things are different. I mean, sheesh, you're not gonna bump up into someone riding a horse in broad daylight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Times have changed. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But it's the meaning behind those stories that allow them to live on for decades upon decades because of how we extract them, how we perceive them. You know what I mean? It's more of long-lasting work. Taking me to my point of, like, this is legendary because it means that you created the work solely with the aim of it living longer for generations upon generations, because it's not just something that's gonna be for today and get an award and then that's it, right? It's gonna be something that's gonna live on for years and years to come. I mean, it's same as how we're still discovering Fela Kuti's music till this day. There's someone who finds it new, there's someone who finds it old. You know what I mean? There's someone in 10 years time who's gonna find your music new. Oh, I just discovered the Sabbath. I'm gonna put on my friends on the Sabbath. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And then there's someone who remembers when the Sabbath drops and is like, yo, dog, that's an oldie for me. In 10 years time, it's gonna be that whole conversation of like, this is a classic. It's an El Clasico for us, you know? So you really realize and you kind of delve deep into that, you know, it's like, it's more of a personal journey, right? So when you are writing, right, and it's like you said, you mentioned Paul, you know, Cain and Abel, but what exactly about those stories could you fully resonate to? Like, what made you reference those stories? I mean, there's so many stories in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
But what made those specific ones, the ones to really inspire the making of the song? You know, just how it was even composed. I'd even say the composition, how you said it earlier, composition. You know, of the three tracks. What made their story so different?
Well,
so unique.
I think I think definitely I can say with choosing, because you know I wrote the song first, of course, and then afterwards I chose concepts and ideas that resonated the most with my intention behind the composition. So I can speak about the most clear one was the story of Cain and Abel. So I was listening to a sermon, and it was like a T.D. Jakes sermon. Like, I didn't really watch those, but I think on this particular day I just landed there. And what was so interesting, he was talking about or preaching about, you know, the story of Cain and Abel, and he said something quite interesting in his interpretation. So you know, like you know, with Cain and Abel, which is the brother who killed the other brother?
It was not Abel who was jealous of Cain, and then he ended up. No, it was vice versa. Cain was the evil brother.
Yeah, Cain was the evil brother, right? Let's just fact check.
Yeah, let's fact check though. Let's fact check.
Yeah, like which is so we can see.
Genesis is the beginning, cause
yes, Cain killed his brother. Yes.
Yeah.
So in reference to let's go back to the sermon. We digress. In reference to this sermon, so, and then he said something so profound. what I don't know if this was his words or he got this from the Bible, but then he said, God hears the sound of injustice. So apparently, the way that God heard that Abel was killed was that his blood made a sound. So he made a mention, when they speak about what God heard in terms of like how he articulated it, was that I hear the sound of thy brother's blood crying up to me from the ground. And then he said, T.D. Jakes then afterwards says, God hears the sound of injustice. God has an ear that can hear the sound of injustice. And I thought to myself, what is that? That completely just in also how I think about sound, and how sound exists in and of itself. How everything has a sound attached to it, that has a particular frequency. And this is what I was thinking about when writing this music, that there's a particular sound of mourning and violence that I really wanted to encapsulate, but that doesn't present itself as like this this very typical thing. It sounds a way, and maybe like I was thinking, maybe in life that is also my journey to figure out how things sound and to present them as close to what they are, not what we prefer them to be, as possible. So this became an obsession. I think that moment for me really just kind of made it clear that I wanted to really dive deep into what all these stories represented, because it seemed like it had, like you were saying, the Bible seems to be a guide for life and for structure of living. So it seemed like it also carried some insight in terms of how things operated in the world. It collapses time. So it's not like a historical document, like we all say, we all hear in churches that, the Bible is a living, breathing document. It is something that is applicable to the past and the present. They say that in Black studies, it is not an allegory of the past. It is an allegory of the present. It somehow is not attached to timeline, and it also carries that idea of saying that nothing is new under the sun. This is what the Bible actually says, and it actually shows in real time that nothing is new under the sun. And if you can understand the characters, the stories, the concepts, you can apply them today. You can apply them to how we think today and get a more accurate sense of how people hear things, see things, read things. So yeah, that definitely, that moment in that sermon inspired me so much. It really just blew my mind, and I knew that I had to reference it somehow, and that was the beginning of kind of like finding other prayers. And then how I landed on Paul's prayer with deliverance from despair, and David's prayer, of course, deliverance from evildoers, because he was like the soldier. So yeah, these themes really interested me.
Damn, that's crazy. Like, I mean, when I think about it, it's really those things where it's like, And when you're explaining it to me, it's like you're going through a transitional moment in life, right? Look at me sounding like a psychic out here. Fuck.
What?
but
What do you mean? No, don't even say that. Like, oh my gosh.
no, I'm just saying, bye. Like, I don't know. I just need to like write it. But I'm saying, it sounds like you're going through a transitional moment in life, right? And all these different themes were like, it's really what you could really reflect on, right? Because I see it like this, right? God talks to us in different forms. No? God is not gonna come to you say, yo, Mtanam, here's in 1, 2, and 3. No. And in most cases, like, you could be watching a show, right? And you're looking for an answer, and the answer won't really just come to you, right? It can come to you in a random blank moment. It could come to you at a random time when you're watching a sermon, like how you were. Or it could come to you in a random time where you're just chilling. Maybe you're going out for a walk. Maybe you're just taking a nap, right? You know those moments when you take a nap and then you wake up and you're like, and then an idea just comes to mind randomly. I don't know, maybe it just happens, but an idea just comes to mind, you know, because it was probably at the back of your mind throughout, you know. So things like that really it speaks more into life than just, you know, living in jail, you know. And I feel like the transitional moment contributed to you finding those themes. Like, this is how I see it, because you said you wrote the songs before you even got to record, right? So obviously when you write something, before you even go into studio where you align with a certain instrumental to go make it an actual composition, it's a thing of you're writing a diary, right? You're diarizing moments that have happened in your life at that moment. You're also then met with certain pieces or certain words of the world that maybe God, it's really not even maybe, it's like words where like God was involved or had some form of influence towards, right? And it's that thing where it's like you can extract that and you learn that it's the answer you need at the moment, not the answer you want.
Yeah, like those exactly, like those serendipitous moments. Yeah, like it's like a coincidence kind of thing, but it's like, whoa, it's like so. It's like that is what I was looking for, and it's, you know, what is it, like what you saying, Most Def, I heard it said by Most Def. He says what you're looking for is looking for you. So those were, I had so many of those moments while writing this music, you know, whether it was in the form of a CD or like you're saying in the form of a sermon or in the form of a memory. It's like things that I was looking for were also looking for me, and they were looking for me to find them, you know. But it's sort of like they collapsed into me at like just the moment when I needed it, you know. So
not when you want it, not when you want
not
it,
when,
because when you want it,
no, exactly.
It just never works. It's like
no, you gotta have patience. That's what I saw. And I think also this is what this project has taught me, you know. Patience is actually in our favor, you know.
Yes.
Having patience actually helps for things to be in your favor. And it's just that, you know, we're never taught, I think, how to wait, because like people think like waiting is like you're being idle, right? Or like you're bored or wasting your time. But I think there's a difference between like passive, they call it like passive waiting or active waiting somehow. But like people are really like they think about it first as like, hey, patience and waiting. I need it now. You know. But I've experienced the revelation, actually, I think I would even say that, of waiting for stuff, you know, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right opportunity. I mean, it's not easy. I'm not saying like I'm just like, you know, this like waiting like guru or something. Because I also have I have impatience. Yeah.
But I mean, when you put it like that, right? Is that thing of when you learn to be patient for the things that are truly meant for you. Because remember, these things are written in our book already. It's like you're chasing success, but nigga, you shouldn't be chasing success. It's part of your journey. It's going to happen when the time is right. It's the same thing as we're chasing millions. Nigga, I'm not chasing millions. Those millions are there already. They're just waiting for you to do what? To act.
Yeah.
You don't have to chase it. How do you chase something that exists already in your journey? Because when you chase it, you'll never find it.
Exactly.
Because you're moving from a place of want and not from a place of need. But if you just live in life and you do the things that you love, but you need to do. At the end of the day, there's a reward.
That you need to do. I like that. Exactly. Just do what you need to do, and then things will, then the things that you need will come to you. Yeah.
And won't always be things we want to do. Because some things like, I gotta wake up at 6. Nah, I'm waking up at 8. You know, but you look at those things and you really understand that patience is something that's instilled within us, right? I choose to see it like that. Whether you have thin patience, whether you have thick patience, it's really up to you. You know, it's based on character. Nah? And if you have thin patience, it means that you're a person who wants to abruptly get things done in one go, right? And then the world will constantly humble you because of that character trait. Like the world will always humble you, always find a way to humble you, because it's like, yo, wait. If you don't wait, you'll learn a very valuable lesson again that you experienced 2 years ago because you refused to wait.
Exactly.
And sometimes God can make you wait for 10 years. Can make you wait for 5 years, can make you wait for 5 months. It's up to him. And it's all about when you're ready. And really, readiness is key, because we're molded by those moments that happen in between, right? And look at you, by the time you recorded the music, right? You had moments that molded that allowed you to say, okay, let me refine it and execute it in this manner. Exactly. You went to Sibelius and you said, I've got the structure here, but I think I can really restructure it like this before I even go to studio, so that I don't waste time. Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly, so it's those things, and understanding that, and understanding your life journey and your life's worth of work. Nigga, you worked hard. I feel like you might not even see it at this point, right? But you've compromised and sacrificed so much of your time, your memories, right, to make so much great art, right? And guys might not come out there and give you your flowers, but you inspire so many people out there in the jazz world itself. I mean, Sharp, we're so quick to talk about, you know, people from before, you know, like, you know what I mean, you introduce the Magazinis and so forth, people we saw rise up, you know what I mean, and had the chance to really get their big break at an early time, right? But we don't know what happened before then. How much waiting did he have to do? How much waiting did Osis Tandiso have to do to get to where she is now? I mean, nigga, she was rubbing shoulders with Mamire Makeba. Do you know? Hey, I'm just saying, for Mamire Makeba to even call you, you're my daughter, please know your brand. You know, you have to understand. There's a radio interview I was listening in onto, right? I can't remember where I was going. But you know, the crazy part was, you know, with Tanya, so I was like, a mom, she carries that advice, or that working you know, passion, you know, from the likes of Mamira Makeba, because Mamira Makeba was like, my daughter, know your story, know your brand. This is when guys were trying to sell, you know, the skin levels, like, yo man, you know, like, I'm gonna take my top off type of covers, you know what I mean?
Hey bruh,
like,
exactly, yeah.
You look at your Shaka Khan, but you go to your Barkema, what's her name? What's the lady's name, man? Queen Latifah, who opposed that, right? She's like, I'm a black queen. I'm gonna put my crown on, but I'm gonna live by who I am. Yeah. I will not let society kill my structure of value because of how they perceive us black queens. This is back in her rap era, you have to understand.
That's crazy.
She was rooted in the African. Yeah, it was questionable to a certain extent, man. But hey, I'm not gonna touch base into that. Some things I'm like,
so for another day,
like my sister.
But we like the intention behind it, yeah, for sure.
Yes, the intention behind it was not harmless, right? It was some things were like, it's giving. What's the name of that foundation? You know that foundation that used to run, but again, it's Universal something. They used to run these ads where they would advertise Africa Karimpukan. Bayopol. Is it UW? United Nations.
Oh, UN, yeah.
They used to do that back in the day. Like they wouldn't get away with it today in today's era.
No ways they wouldn't.
They got away with it. They disrespected Africa like crazy. But you look at the intention behind it is to sell a certain image, right? To sell a certain message behind it, right? But you go back to it properly and you realize that each and every person who was behind that project, each and every person who was in that era was working on finding themselves. It was more of a scheme of, let me find myself, let me realign, what I mean, with myself, with my brand. What are we really standing for? What are we really for? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I think for you again, that transitional moment in life to say, I used to see life like this, right?
For sure.
But right now I'm tapping more into like my spirituality, and I need to see life for what it really is, right?
Yeah.
I can't be blindsided by the things of the world. I need to be open-minded, right? Meaning that I need to understand what is my role in protecting myself. What do I need to do?
Sure.
You know what I mean? What do I need to do? Means I need to be rooted in prayer. You know what I mean? And
That's so powerful.
It's finding, the little things and the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, that we take lightly. We take lightly, like sometimes we struggle to pray. Realistic speaking, is that we're human beings. You can't have it 100% all the time. You'll have your days, you'll have your bad days, you'll have your days where like prayer, God hears your prayers at heart. You're not vocal about it. He hears your prayers at heart. You have to understand, and I don't think people understand this, we're spiritual beings. Before the body, you're a spiritual being. You have to understand that. Right? Before the body, you are a whole spiritual being. And it's in that way, it's like, you have to understand that you're, and hence, if even with relationship with God, it's so important to have. I mean, whatever anybody believes in, you know what I mean? If they believe in a different religious or cultural movement, you know what I mean? Anything that keeps them upright in their own world or sane a little bit, right?
For sure. Yeah.
It's really that thing, Yahore, that relationship matters. And for us, it's like a relationship with God.
For sure.
It's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
And we devalue it sometimes in the human form, in a sense where people are like, nah, dude, I did this, bro, I bought this, bro. But it's like, at whose cost did it come at? It's God.
Yeah.
God sat down and said, my child, you ready? God can just flick his fingers and everything could be gone in an instant. That's God's voice.
Facts.
We think God has to think, I've got a chart. Hey, I've got to measure this one. Hey, okay, with this chart, okay, you did this, you didn't do that. Nah, ain't like I'm gonna give you the car, my nigga. God doesn't work like that. It's a relationship thing. And sometimes some things are taken away to actually push us closer to Him.
Yeah.
And you find that we thought those things were good, but maybe God is working on a better. But in order for us to get a better thing or better product at the time or better experience in life, we need to better ourselves. That's why the biggest investment in life will always be self-investment. And self-investment, I'm not talking about buying a car, buying a house, buying clothes, looking good, smelling good, whatever. That shit does not matter. Hear me out. Self-investment in the sense of pouring into yourself, right? Because when you pour into yourself, you're not an empty cup anymore. You have the ability to pour into other people. You're an overflowing cup. You come from, and there in that position, you're able to pour into other people's cups, right? But you can't do it if you are, how can I put it? You are empty. You're not investing in yourself. You think investing in yourself is buying a house, a car, and that's why, again, God can take those things away to remind you, hey, wake up. Life, I didn't bring you to this world to just enjoy, you know what I mean, the fruits of the world. I brought you to this world to have an impact. And I think what I was able to also gauge from what you're explaining from the three tracks, right? It's a thing of like, you're cementing yourself into a spiritual journey. I mean, as I said, we're not perfect. We'll have our days where it's like you draw back and then you have to draw closer. But you're cementing yourself and you're cementing your name. And I think a lot of people out there, I'm sure, if anything, that understand the jazz world will understand the messaging or the intention behind those three tracks. You know what I mean? One side.
Yeah. No, I hear
but,
you. I hear you.
But I feel you understand that each track was recorded on different dates. Just take me on that journey of like, okay, how was it? Who played what role into making each track a final product? And was it executed to the way or the manner you had envisioned it? Or did it scale up to another level or another point?
I definitely scaled. It definitely scaled. Because the original way that I had arranged for it, it was just for a string quartet and myself. And this is how I presented it, like, I think 2 years before recording it at the National Arts Festival. We were invited to present the Sabbath in a smaller setting. So in the original setting, which is, of course, like I said, with the string quartet and myself. But for the recording, because I'd done more iterations of it, like more versions of the music, I wanted to make sure that I tapped into the original format as well as like where it is right now, and I really enjoy doing that, especially thinking about like if I'm gonna put it on, if I'm gonna record it, like what Kendrick Lamar says, you gotta go hard on the wax, you gotta go hard. So like when I'm recording it, I'm thinking, what is the best version of this thing? Not even, of course, like at the end of the day I have to consider budget and all like that, but I'm just like, I don't want to sacrifice and compromise the best version for monetary purposes. Like the money will come, I will figure it out. I'll get 10 other jobs. I'll waitress, I'll do administration, I will shadow people for like $120 an hour, you know what I mean? And that's what I did. I was like, no, I'm gonna find the money. I'm gonna find the money somewhere, but I have to commit to this sound, like to this best version, which is of course like the string quartet, which was two violins, one viola, one cello, one double bass, as well as a rhythm section, which is of course percussion, drums, guitar, and I had Robin Fassi on the trumpet and myself on vocals. So this was a 10-piece band. From coming from a 4 to a 10, but then I just thought to myself, no ways I'm gonna compromise what this thing sounds like now just because, of stuff, I can figure it out. And that's what I always think, in terms of money. Like, I've never been a bit like that much prideful when it comes to the kind of jobs I get. Of course, like, I make sure, of course, like, I get work that is aligned with what it is that I'm doing. But I like to think of work also as like being of service. So I'm like, okay, what can I monetize right now? At a certain point, I was living in a neighborhood where there was like old people. And I knew that, old people kind of struggle with technology and stuff like that. And I was on the group, and I said, if anyone is looking for, an assistant to write emails or something, just let me know. I'm here, I work from home, and I'm trying to make extra money, da da da. And these old people started calling me up like, Gabi, please come and type this,
For emails.
For emails, hey, bro.
Nah, like what?
Old people.
No ways, bro.
I'm telling you, bro. I'd go to these old people's houses and just like, yeah, okay, so what do you want me to write? It's like, okay, no, I want you to edit this. Because they obviously, they're old, and it's like there's a screen, and, it's like carpal tunnel and a little bit of some, senileness, senile old age kind of impairments, So I just thought that, I can help for sure, and I need a couple of extra bucks for me to make this project happen. So I've always kind of just been available to kind of figure it out. I like what Tyler the Creator also says, and I feel the same way. Like anything is figure outable. If you're willing to do it, like anything is figure outable. You just need to be a little bit creative, but of course, like, don't be cringe, but be a little bit creative. You don't have to degrade yourself in any way, but like, be of service. And if you can help and just get like some small financial compensation just to get your thing done, just to get your project done, that's nothing to be ashamed of, because you believe in something that you're doing, you know what I mean? And I like that approach, because I think the most frustrating thing to any artist is if they feel limited by budget. It's like, oh, I can't get that because I don't have the budget. Oh, I can't do that because the budget. It gets old, And if you really, really want to do something, you'll figure it out. Like, you'll get the money. You'll get the money. Here and there, beg, borrow, and steal. You know what I mean? But of course, like, don't steal the cash. But things are figure outable, man. Like, we're young, we got the energy, and like I said, I have the energy. I have the energy. I had the energy. So I thought that, I didn't want to compromise the sound. So that was the motivation behind it. Yeah.
But I mean, you didn't compromise on the sound. Like,
I figured it out. But I still owe a few people today. Just by the way.
Damn.
So I'm making my payments. Payments. You know what I mean? I'm making my.
They coming for their money.
They coming for their cash. They're like, hey, bruh. But that's the life of a creative, and it's interesting, but it's sure, I don't know, because like I'm still on this side of it. I can't wait to get on the other side of it, where in retrospect I can be like, oh, okay, to be able to impart kind of, to be able to impart like advice as I experienced that worked. You know what I mean? I think right now I've been lucky to be able to do certain things, and sometimes, yeah, the money falls short just a tad bit, but like I've also been lucky that opportunities are kind of coming in slowly, and I'm able to, kind of plan future stuff, sustain myself, and also, take care of my debts in that way. So yeah, I think that's the journey of a creative. I'm starting to also see that that's a big part of it. But I do think that eventually you get to be on the other side, when you can appreciate kind of your creativity and your struggle and your, innovation, and it's been interesting thus far. Not too bad.
But I mean, look at it like this, right? You are in a position where you kind of also get to really reminisce and decide for yourself to say, okay, cool, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Because with the next project, then you're gonna make sense of it. Because it's like, hey, Joe, spendile solo, kiadimile solo. Mamang sa tlo mfonela ka usane sisipetha o batla nyugwa hae. Mamang o batla you know what I mean? It's like you had to compromise on so much. I can just imagine having to wake up in the morning, going to help someone with typing out a basic email. And you're like, how? But then you realize it's like, no, it's a service. It's convenience more than anything, right? You're offering convenience to the particular individual, and it's a way to make things happen and make things work for you. Because at the end of the day, it's not like there's 10 million rands sitting in a bank account somewhere, waiting, just all in your name, waiting for you to just go reach to make the album happen. It was not that.
No.
You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
It was not that. You had to work hard to make it happen, but you also had to work smart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be like, hey, Joe, and like, solo. Here's the payment plan. Alright. You're like, okay, sure. 50% to 20% deposit, and then we'll work around it. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's really those things and really those type of people where you start to value, and okay, community is needed in any form, shape, or size. It's always going to be needed, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, without community, what do we actually have? Can we figure it out by ourselves?
No, you cannot.
Don't think so.
You cannot. And community, like you say, it's just that we also, of course, we need money, but I think that people really undervalue, the value of community. Like I'm saying, in the neighborhood where I was staying, I mean, that was a community that I could access, that also had like monetary, value to it. You know what I mean? That I could be like, hey, are people around here available for this service? And they were willing to pay. So community is also not just people, and not just something that, that you can like ask just like a limited amount of favors from, but they're also an access to resources and access to monetary resources even. You know what I mean? Like if you have, I guess, if you have, let's say like a friend group or something, and that friend group may be part of like an affluent, community, and of course like affluence meaning that maybe their parents have money. You can access that and be like, guys, I'm actually selling this stuff to parents or to people of this age. Would your parents be willing to pay for this? And that's value for money. You know what I mean? Like that's in a community that you can access, that is willing to compensate for your services, something that you have unique access to. And I think we need to start identifying those people and those communities, that it is not just a community of your career, or even people who understand what you're doing. It doesn't have to be that, it can just be people who you have access to for whatever reason under the sun, you know what I mean? That you're able to kind of communicate with if you have a particular need, and you're able to kind of negotiate and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's how I've always thought about it. I didn't think that my community is only existing within the arts. Like, I feel like the arts is like a very small part of the community that I am that I'm connected to. I also like see my family, I see my friends networks as well, and whatever, like my kids' school, that's part of my community. Where I reside, like I said, as part of my community. So I've always thought in that way. Like, community has been like a very, just like an open, more open and more generous than just that of like what people know me to do. Even people who don't know what I do, I see them as community members. So
yeah, because they contribute to how you think on a day-to-day basis. They contribute to how you see the world on a day-to-day basis. You know what I mean? You're able to help people out because they're also able to help you out without even knowing.
Exactly.
Sometimes something as simple as, oh no, I've never thought about it like this, we can try this, or hey man, we can try that, or hey man, we can do this, or hey man, we can look into that, or hey man, you know what I mean? Things like that, where it's like you understand each other, like how you placed it, for example, where your kid's school's at, the parents that are there, it's a community, because you can go to them and say, hey Joe, I can't pick up my kid today, right? But your kid, you guys stay in the same street as me. If you don't mind, can you take my kid, bring her home for me? If you don't mind, maybe you're gonna be somewhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Things like that, you can organize them because you know where they live. It's not like
exactly.
You're going to someone who do like beggars for to where now do like crookers door. You know what I mean? It's like that's a different thing. There you're asking for things that you don't know because you don't know that person. But if you all live in the same area, they're able to pick up where you're unable to pick up in that week. You know what I mean? They're able to say, Sharp, I'll help you with this. I know, some parents would have groups where they meet up on a weekly basis and they go out, or they spoil each other once a month, like, hey, let's go out on a spa thing, we take our kids out, whatever, have them to have fun, play together, whatever, and then we chill, we get to breathe a bit and reflect, So it's things like that, It really happens in South Africa, if we're really being honest, because hey, some parents just don't care, bro. They're like, nah, dog. Nah, let's not take it that far, bro. Yeah, we leave it at the school premises, okay? Yeah, Jackie. Okay, Jackie. You stay at the school premises. Yeah.
Yeah, you keep it there. No, but I'm saying, it's something that you have access to. I mean, whether you choose to use it or not, that's up to you and your belief system. You know what I mean? True. But I'm just saying that it is available if you need it. You know what I mean? And it may not be everyone. Like I'm saying, this is also not just true for yourself, but it is also true for other people who you are asking to recognize and acknowledge the community. So it's like, people also don't have to participate because they don't want to be part of the community as well, as True. In the same breath that you don't have to communicate, you don't have to participate if you don't want to access that community, or if you don't want that community to access you. So it happens, it's both ways. It's not just what you want, but like we're saying, what you're looking for is looking for you. But sometimes, it means that you're not looking for those particular people. But I think in that community, there are those who are also looking for the same thing that you're looking for. So
true, yeah. True. And you'll eventually find what you're looking for,
Exactly.
That's how I see it. It's really it's something else, man. You know, as we grow to identify those things and really just even within the music space, you know, being able to call mamang and say, Ejo, katloka 1, 2, and 3, kantus, or Ejo, are you able to do 1, 2, and 3? Yeah, I'll compensate through recording a track on your album as well for free, you know? So trade exchange of some sort, you know, but you're right when you say finding what exactly you can utilize, and whether you utilize it or not, it's up to you, but that community exists predominantly, so it exists whether we like it or not, you know. And man, those 3 tracks just really represent you know, the impact in community and unity as a whole, man. You know, look at where you are right now. You come far, bruh. Like, you come far. Look at where you are right now. And if you reflect this community, and also you also building your own, you know, circle, you know, and understanding again which direction you're trying to take things, and how far you're really trying to take things, you know, and really what exactly the end goal is with it all, you know, because at the end of the day, man, we live in a world where we will win or lose, and it's really all about risk more than anything else. One time, it's really about risk. So right where we are to where we're going, there's greater things, you know, there's far more greater things to come, man. But the music will live for itself. It will speak for itself.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
It will really speak for itself, you know. So and really to just close it off, you know, reflecting on just the whole conversation is, I hope someone, again, and I'll say it again, can learn from this episode. Not even can, they will learn from this episode, man, because it's really all about understanding yourself. I think the key point from everything is understand who you are, have an identity. Everything will work itself out. Have an identity. I think that's what I was able to extract most out of the whole conversation, because it's within identity where you're able to also find your point or your where you stand in life, you know, and you know, you're able to scale up your relationship with God from there. But if you lack an identity, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say to God? You know what I mean? You're just gonna be confused every day.
I think that maybe a better way to present that, and I mean that argument has also been presented in different ways, but I think in the way that I like is that you know, we're all influenced by something.
True.
And those of, you know, sometimes in life, you know, for whatever reason, there is it's never clear to one, you know, what is influencing them. You know, my dad also always used to say, like, if I was acting out of character, he used to be like, you know, what friends are you hanging around with? Who's teaching you all this stuff? Who's telling you all this stuff? You know? And I never used to understand that. And whenever he said that, listen, I would be so livid, eh? And I'd say, listen, these are my ideas. You know, this comes from my little brain and my little... And in retrospect, I now understand what he was trying to say. It's like nothing comes from nowhere, you know. Life influences everyone, you know. And for one to be mindful what you are choosing to influence you is also a form of protection and a form of self-awareness. And I think the most dangerous thing is if you're unaware, either that you're being influenced or what you're being influenced by. You know what I mean? Because some people really don't know that they're being influenced by something. You know, they just think that I'm making all these decisions out of like my own doing, my own understanding. But if you also consult like neurologists and people who really work with the brain, you'll find evidence that this is not how the brain operates. The brain doesn't just think thoughts up for themselves. It doesn't come to its own conclusion. There's information that influences every single decision that we make. So the fact that we're influenced is a given. But where we need to be mindful is what we're being influenced by. And I think this is maybe where our relationship with God kind of enters, right? Because we've seen that we prefer not to be influenced by the world and its value system, in that we've chosen a particular influence from this, biblical and Christian value system, which can be made for whatever reason. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's inheritance, sometimes it's experience, sometimes it's encounter. But for whatever reason you make that decision, it is just a decision to say that I choose to be influenced by this. I choose to be made by this. I think this is also such a powerful thing that also reiterates this idea, this Bible verse that speaks of, greater is He who is in me than he who is in the world. This also speaks to, this idea of influence, and also another quote that is famous in the Bible is, you are made in the image of God, right? This idea that too speaks to that idea is that of influence, and I think it validates what psychoanalysis speaks on, when they're saying the brain doesn't exist in and of itself. The brain exists in and of itself, yes, but that it's like, it's not, it doesn't just operate by itself. It operates by the information that you feed it, right? True. So if you're gonna constantly be fed information of, television, mainstream, commercial art, commercial ideology, you are essentially, accessing an influence of that trajectory, of those value systems, But
True.
if you choose something that falls outside of mainstream, outside of popular culture, then that, and also flooding yourself, of course, like with that kind of information, what you're saying to your brain is that also consider these ideas when we're making decisions. I want you to consider, don't just go for the thing that's easy. Go for also this information that I'm feeding you. So this is how, I think this is how we can understand better how the mind works. And also just a difference in, not really a difference, but a choosing of a Christian kind of path, or choosing even of a Muslim path, choosing, an ideology that is not necessarily mainstream, but also even choosing a mainstream path, because that is also, that is a religion in and of itself. That is a culture in and of itself. That one can choose to be made in the image of, so it's very important, I think, for us to understand that, what you feed the brain, you become, So choose good fruit, choose healthy fruit, choose things that are not destructive, like we were saying, even in last week's episode. The better the food, the better, the better the product and the better you feel. The more rotten the food, that tends to be also the outcome or the output.
True that. Damn, that is crazy when I think about it. Those are gems, man. Those are gems. Trust me. I feel like so whoever's gonna be listening in, I think they're gonna be. And by the way, you can catch the full podcast from this coming week on YouTube. I'm gonna be uploading the episodes. Episodes are gonna be up this week, the old episodes, and then look out for this current episode. You're probably listening to it on YouTube already. If you aren't, check it out.
And come through. Can we say that they should come through Jazz in the Lights on?
Yes, please. Because we're going live with this episode on Friday. So tomorrow is Jazz in the Lights at the Johannesburg Zoo. Come through. We're gonna be collaborating with the Jazz in the Lights big band. I'm excited because I've rearranged. You know me, Mr. Rearranger. I've rearranged some of the music to fit. I like that. It's a great exercise for me. I really like doing that. So anyway, we're gonna be joined by what? I don't like to call them backing singers. I don't think that. I would say it's like a chamber voice ensemble. Yeah, I think I want to use that. Okay, opera voices, but like a chamber choir. Of course, a horn section, rhythm section with percussion. It's like 11-piece. No, 15. I think we're 15 on the stage, and we're gonna be presenting the Sabbath on Saturday. So come through. The sound is so fresh. We're ushering in just the Sabbath sound that is like it's such a fresh sound, such a an exciting sound. Come through, get your tickets, and we'll see you tomorrow. Can't wait.
Yes.
We can't wait. It's gonna be lekker. You don't want to miss out on the performance, okay?
It's gonna be lekker. It's a
very
picnic
lekker,
vibe. So bring the picnic chairs, and I think I'll be on like at 3.
At 3. So less.
I think that's when
guys,
the sun.
do not miss out.
That's when the sun is at its highest. You know what I'm saying? That's when the Sabbath's gonna be dropping. You know what I'm saying?
Just make sure you got them umbrellas. You've got your caps. You've got your water.
Got your water. Hydrate.
Yeah. Hydrate the whole time, okay? This is Joburg. The heat is scorching, okay? And let's all have fun.
It's gonna be a wonderful day,
It's gonna be a vibe. But to ever listening in, can't wait to catch you guys this weekend if you're coming through to the Jazz Fest. Man, we'll definitely see you there. And can't wait to give you guys episode 5. This is you listening to episode 4, so it's like a live broadcast last year, okay? So we'll see you next week with the new episode as well. As always, with love, peace, guys. Cheers. Have a great one.